You ever notice how weird the number 1,000 feels when it's sitting in your bank account? Not zero, not broke, not rich, just there. It's that strange middle point where you finally have a little money, but not enough to feel safe, not enough to feel proud, and definitely not enough to feel like you know what you're doing. You open your banking app, look at the balance, and for a second, you feel good. And then your brain immediately starts asking questions. Should I invest this? Should I save it? Should I use it to pay something off? Should I keep it in case something goes wrong? And the worst part is that every answer you find online sounds either too complicated or too unrealistic. People start talking about index funds, compounding, diversification, tax advantages, and suddenly you feel like you accidentally signed up for a finance class you never wanted to take. Then on the other side, you see videos with titles like How I Turned $1,000 into $100,000, and part of you wants to believe it, but another part of you is thinking, yeah, okay, sure, probably crypto in 2011, or some insane luck, or someone who already had money to begin with, because when you're the one holding that first $1,000, it doesn't feel like the beginning of wealth. It feels like the end of a very long struggle just to get that far. My name is NIKO, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, not in the flashy, day trading, Lamborghinis on Instagram kind of way, but in the slow, psychological way. Like why some people manage to build real wealth starting with almost nothing, while other people earn decent money for years and somehow stay stuck in the exact same place. And the strange thing is, most of the time the difference isn't intelligence. It isn't talent. It isn't even income. It's how they treat that first $1,000. Because turning $1,000 into $100,000 is not really about finding the perfect investment. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't waste the first step. And once you understand that, the whole idea stops sounding like a clickbait headline and starts looking like a long, slow, very human process, the kind that almost anyone can follow if they're willing to think differently about time, risk, patience, and honestly, boredom. So what I want to do in this video is walk through how that actually happens in real life, not the fantasy version, not the overnight success story, but the real path, the one where $1,000 slowly becomes $5,000, then $20,000, then $100,000. And somewhere along the way, the money isn't the thing that changed the most. You did. The first mistake almost everyone makes with their first $1,000 is thinking it needs to do something dramatic. They want a big move, a big trade, a big opportunity, something that makes the number jump fast, because if it doesn't move quickly, it feels like nothing is happening. And honestly, that feeling makes sense. Waiting is uncomfortable. Slow growth is uncomfortable. Watching your money go from $1,000 to $1,080 after an entire year feels like a joke. It feels like the system is broken. But the people who eventually reach $100,000 usually don't start by chasing speed. They start by building control. Think about learning to drive. If someone handed you a race car the first day you got your license, you wouldn't win the race. You'd crash into the first corner. Not because the car is bad, but because you don't have the skill yet. Money works the same way. Your first $1,000 isn't powerful because of how big it is. It's powerful because it's the first time you have enough to make a real decision. Do you spend it? Do you keep it? Do you risk it? Do you protect it? And that moment, where you decide not to reset back to zero, is actually the beginning of everything. If you look at people who never build wealth, the pattern is almost always the same. They reach $1,000, something happens, they spend it, and they start over again and again and again. The people who eventually get ahead don't have fewer problems. They just stop starting over. Once you stop resetting to zero, the next thing that matters is something nobody wants to hear because it sounds boring. Time. Everyone wants to know what stock to buy. Nobody wants to talk about how long they're willing to wait. And this is where the math starts doing something strange. If you invest $1,000 and earn around 8% a year, which is roughly what the stock market has averaged over long periods, the first year feels pointless. You make $80. That's it. $80 doesn't change your life. It barely changes your week. After 2 years, you have about $1,166. Still not exciting. After 5 years, about $1,469. Still not impressive. And this is exactly the point where most people quit because it feels like nothing is happening. But if you keep going, something weird starts to happen later. After 10 years, it's over $2,000. After 20 years, over $4,000. After 30 years, over $10,000. You didn't work harder, you didn't take more risk, you just didn't stop. Compound interest feels slow at the beginning because the numbers are small. It feels fast at the end because the numbers finally have room to grow. And the people who reach $100,000 usually learn this earlier than everyone else. The goal isn't to make money fast. The goal is to stay in the game long enough for the math to start helping you. Now, realistically, almost nobody turns $1,000 into $100,000 just by investing once and waiting forever. That's the part nobody explains. In real life, what happens is that the first 1,000 changes your behavior, and your behavior creates the next 10,000. When you have money invested, something shifts in your brain. You start noticing every small purchase. You start noticing how often you say, "It's only $20. You start noticing how expensive normal life actually is. You're standing in a store holding something you don't need, and suddenly, your brain does this weird calculation like, that's 2 shares, that's 1 week of investing, that's 1 step backward, and you put it back, not because you're cheap, because you're building something. Let's say after that first $1,000, you manage to invest $200 a month. Not easy, not impossible, just consistent. That's $2,400 a year. 10 years later, that's $24,000 without even counting growth, and with normal market returns that can easily be $35,000 or more. And this is where something really important happens psychologically. When your money reaches a number you've never had before, your identity starts to change. You stop thinking like someone trying to survive. You start thinking like someone trying to build. You care about long-term decisions. You care about stability. You care about not messing it up. And that shift right there is what makes the jump to $100,000 possible. The move from $10,000 to $100,000 is not about luck, it's about habit. Because once you have a few thousand saved, the temptation to slow down gets stronger. You feel like you proved something. You feel like you can relax. You feel like you deserve to spend a little more. And a lot of people do. Not in one big mistake, but in 100 small ones. They stop investing regularly. They upgrade their lifestyle too early. They start telling themselves they'll get serious later, and later never comes. The people who reach $100,000 usually do something very boring. They keep going, month after month, year after year. Same habit, same plan, same patience. It's almost disappointing how simple it looks from the outside, but boring is the secret. Because wealth isn't built in moments of excitement. It's built in long periods where nothing feels like it's happening. Something else changes as your money grows, and nobody warns you about this part. The bigger your savings get, the more your mistakes matter. Losing $100 when you have $1,000 hurts. Losing $10,000 when you have $50,000 hurts a lot more. So the strategy changes. Early on, you can experiment, you can try things, you can make small mistakes. Later, the goal becomes protecting what you already built. This is why people who reach 6 figures usually become more patient over time, not less. They stop chasing fast wins. They stop trying to be clever. They focus on consistency, because at that point, the goal isn't to get rich quickly, it's to not go backwards. And the strangest part of the whole journey is that it never feels like one big climb. It feels like a series of plateaus. You get stuck at $1,000, then stuck at $5,000, then stuck at $10,000, then stuck at $20,000. Each level feels permanent while you're in it. It feels like this is as far as you go. Like everyone else knows something you don't. Like maybe you just aren't the type of person who gets ahead, and then slowly something changes. Your income goes up a little. Your habits get better. Your confidence grows, and the number moves again. Looking back, it feels obvious. While you're living it, it feels impossible. So how do you actually turn $1,000 into $100,000? Not with one investment, not with one lucky trade, not with one perfect decision. You do it by refusing to start over. You do it by giving your money time. You do it by adding to it whenever you can. You do it by staying consistent when it feels pointless. And you do it by understanding that the real growth isn't just in your account, it's in how you think. Because at the beginning, $1,000 feels small. At the end, you realize it was the hardest part. The first 1,000 requires discipline when you don't have any. The first 1,000 requires patience when you see no results. The first 1,000 requires belief before there's any proof. And once you get past that, the rest isn't easy, but it's possible. Turning $1,000 into $100,000 isn't about finding the perfect opportunity. It's about becoming the kind of person who keeps going long after the excitement disappears. And once you learn how to grow money slowly, you realize something most people never figure out. Slow isn't the opposite of success. Slow is the only speed that ever worked.